End your procrastination with a low friction start. What exactly does that mean? Start with the minimal amount of gear, equipment, courses that you need. Just start as simple as you can and keep one focused goal. In this example, I'm going to give YouTube. This is the current project that I'm working on, and I wanted to give you some specifics here. So in this case, you can get caught up in all the video editing software, the various cameras, the various microphones, all the different gear. Should you record on your iPhone? Should you have a webcam and record to your desktop? You can get caught up in all of that. You can get caught up in the background, as the background is perfect as you'd like. Find the minimal viable product that you can ship or get out the door or get posted right now, today. That is something that I had to do to break my endless consumption of personal growth and success courses and YouTube courses and YouTube content and all of those different things. So what did I do? This is what I did. And a lot of these things, I've had the pieces in place for some time and never used them. Maybe you're in the same place. So I said, okay, I'm going to use my iPhone. I see a lot of people talk about just start off with your iPhone. And then I happen to have the DJI mic, the initial DJI wireless mic. So I'm like, I already have that, right? That was an investment that was never used. So I have that. I had a tripod. I had all the pieces. I said, okay, I'm just going to start with that. All right, my background isn't what I like it to be. Well, clean it out just enough to have some background of something where it's not a complete disaster and train wreck back there, that it actually looks somewhat organized. May not be the end product, but at least have something clean enough to get started with. So that's what I did. And the first goal, that first one focus, was focusing on consistency and output. Now, in the beginning, I might just have one video because I was still figuring out the editing. And when I got to that point, well, I've got a Mac already. It already has iMovie. I hear some people started with iMovie. Let me just start with iMovie. And I just consumed enough content to figure out, okay, how do I trim the front of the video and the back of the video, right? That's it. I'm not going to get into any more editing than that. It's just going to be as one take as I possibly can. So that's what I've been doing, focusing on that. I didn't focus on thumbnails. I didn't focus on titles. Now that's going to take some more time, right? And that needs to be done. The packaging needs to be done, and that will be done, and that will be learned, and that will be a skill set that I'll develop in time. And I didn't want to try to put all the pieces in play because I hadn't started in forever. This has been postponed for, seems like, decades. So that was the one thing. Focus on creating, focus on the output. What else to make this a low friction effort? I thought about all the personal stories that I had over my lifetime and career in corporate America. And I made notes on all those, right? And I started with those. Those are stories that I can speak from, that I experienced, that I feel have value. I'm going to start there. Now, all the recommendations, which I believe make complete sense, is you should start with the title, the thumbnail text, the intro, then record the video. That's how you should do it. And I focus on just the output. I knew that would take much more time, which I will get into that phase of it. But the beginning was that one thing: output, low friction, get started. As I mentioned, use the iMovie. Use the DJI mic. Had some challenges with the audio loudness. Thought I had some solutions in iMovie. Temporarily might have solved it, but it was very inconsistent. Continued to ask questions with AI. That led to DaVinci Resolve. How did that lead to DaVinci Resolve? Well, asked more questions of AI. I was using the Blackmagic camera app, which I didn't know is under that umbrella of ownership there of DaVinci Resolve. So I thought, wow, that's a perfect fit, right? They should come together seamlessly. So went with DaVinci Resolve, and then got deeper into audio settings to make some tweaks. But the first thing was that low friction effort to get started. What's the minimal viable product I can start out with? The minimal simplistic format I can start out with. I already have an iPhone, had a mic, had a tripod, iMovie. Just start there. So that's what I started out with. And as I mentioned, it was that maybe one video recorded. And then once got some of these other challenges with the just some learning some simple skills there in Canva and just the trimming of the beginning end of the video, then got into, well, let's just do a batch of recording. I didn't set a number. I didn't even set a specific day. It was like, okay, I'm going to record a video. Rather than record one, let me record multiple videos, and then recorded multiple videos. Now, these aren't very long videos, right? So I think that very first time recorded like 7 or 8. I think I lost count. I thought I did 7, but was in such a flow, and it was the most game-changing unlock, because now there's some light at the end of the tunnel. Well, the short tunnel, that is, that okay, you can film more than one video. You can commit to doing batch recordings. So it's these stacking up of individual wins over time and removing the friction. And the reason why I'm using that phrase, low friction, that came up with talking and all these conversations with ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Somewhere in there, I'm always questioning the workflow. How can we simplify this? How can we make this easier? How can I create a very simple one-page document? And all these different pieces evolve over time and get condensed, and they are more simplified. But ChatGPT was using that phrase, removing the friction on things, making it a lot easier. Now, one thing that I think was holding me back, and maybe it holds you back as well, I have a Shure mic. I have the Elgato Wave XLR. The sound quality is great on that. And at one point I did use OBS and have that figured out. That was for work, for Zoom calls and things like that. I need to relearn that and see how I had that set up. The other part of it too is if using the iPhone, connecting it with a USB to my computer, you can't get 4K. So there's all these little nuances to recording off and saving to desktop. So I wanted to keep the friction low. So that's why I'm sticking with this format for now until I move to that space, and then can actually do maybe some more sharing of my screen, tie that into videos, things like that. But keep that friction low. One thing I had thought of, which I hadn't done, and I thought I might have heard somebody had done this. I want to say Pat Flynn, I'm not sure, could be wrong on that one, but I thought he may have said, and maybe in the podcasting format, in some format he recorded 100 but never posted them live and built up the skill before going live. So that's something you can do too. And I always come back to this YouTube as the example. And maybe that's it. You could record all those videos, learn all the steps of the process, get those reps in like Alex Hermosi says, and then by that time, you're going to have the confidence and the skill sets in place to put out some confident quality videos, if that's what your end goal is. But keep that friction as minimal as possible. And I've seen some great YouTube creators talk about that too. They have their setup to where they can just jump in the seat, boom, record right out of the gate, and keep it as simplistic where they're not recalibrating different settings and shifting things around. And that's my end goal as well too, to get to that point on desktop. But keep the friction low enough to get you started. Once you get started, you'll find that you probably enjoy the process more than you could have. You really can't think ahead whether you're going to enjoy creating videos until you record it. But once you do, and you do see that you enjoy it, it's going to create more momentum to build more, learn more, and move on from there. So that's it. Keep that lesson in mind. Thanks to one of my AIs suggested that, always using that phrase of keeping low friction in the process, especially when you're getting started, because that's going to help you not only get started, but build that momentum to carry forward. And before you know, you'll be several iterations deep into whatever it is you're creating, and you'll look back, as I've looked back at my old self, and it's unrecognizable, even in a short period of time. There was that person before that wanted to start something on YouTube, and now there's that person that's 40 videos deep into it with a lot to learn, learning a lot of things. The what do they call that? The consciously incompetent stage, getting to the point where you know that you don't know. So now you can do some investigating and explore. But you have to get started first. So keep the friction low. Have an amazing day. We'll talk soon. Thanks again.